So you have to die to yourself to get to the next level. You have to die to oneself. That's the quote, right? So I've got to kill off the old Brent before I can get to the new Brent. You've got to kill off the old Blair before you can get to the new Blair. And right now, you're not killing off the old Blair. You're just checking out. The old Blair did all the things. This new Blair that's come up in the last week, this isn't a new Blair.
Welcome to Old Guys Still Rock. Super grateful you gave us a look or a listen. We specifically developed this podcast for friends, or soon-to-be friends, who are in the 40-plus category. This podcast is a platform to not only have your voices be heard, but also for others who are going through the same thing and know that they too aren't alone. Our topics may be business, topics may be entrepreneurship, our topics may be social, or our topics may be just everyday life. Whatever it is, we hope that you give it a share and leave us a comment. But most of all, if you want your voice to be heard, please leave us a comment on how to get a hold of you so you too can be an old guy that still rocks and help build our community. Until we speak again, stay safe, but most of all, God bless. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be when you are watching this. If this is your first time here, this is going to be the best podcast that you have never seen before in your life. We are Old Guys Still Rock. We are on episode number 77. I believe so. Is that right, bud?
I think
so. Yeah, I think 77. It should be 77. Anyways, we are Old Guys Still Rock. We are as you kind of heard in the precursor of all this, we're a podcast of many different formats. Today is going to be about Blair. He's going to put himself on the butcher block, and we're going to dissect him. That is me. I am Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong Coldwell Banker. I'm located in beautiful Palm Desert, California, where it's going to be an awesome 78 degrees today. They finally get to have like awesome weather. We just went through 124. So kind of cool to have this. Everything, all the flowers are back. It's probably one of the best times to be in the desert, actually. All the new flowers are planted. The grass is emerald green. The sky is clear. You could see for miles. We just hiked this place called Bump and Grind yesterday and literally could probably see for 20 miles. It was crazy. You can see the windmills, which are at least 20 miles away from where we were at the time. But anyway, as a crow flies, it's probably 5. So anyway, on my right and possibly your left is Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated, a very good friend of mine and co-host of this show for almost 30 years. And he is a Brent Wright Incorporated, said many different hats from body shops to detail shops. Him and his wife just opened up a wellness center, business coaching, personal coaching, payroll companies. I mean, the list goes on and on. It didn't happen overnight. It's been a course of not only how long have I known him, but before that as well. So how are you? What is going on in the world of Eugene? I looked at a picture of people in Eugene the other day and they're all bundled up. I'm like, what is going on here? And I realized it's like 37 degrees.
Balmy 44 right now. So, yeah.
Dude, I don't miss that, man. There's this, great summers, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous summers, especially along the Willamette, as people that are not from there, actually called the Willamette River. Absolutely gorgeous. But boy, man, when October 31st hit, it just goes cold, gray, and wet.
Yep. That's why I sit with my light on, my ring light keeps me, in the goods, and take a bunch of vitamin D, get fired up.
That's good. So how you feeling? I know you went through, so people, if you haven't followed Brent Wright, again, if you haven't followed any of us, follow us on Instagram, follow Brent Wright on Instagram as well, through Facebook and all those pages. So find us. Yep. You went through some trauma a little bit this week.
Yeah. So Saturday, I was at a house that I bought, and there was a large bit of debris in the garage, and I was loading it up. and I went to pick up this mattress that was wet or soaked or something, and put it in the dump trailer. And I picked it up and went to turn, and my back, whang, took me down to the ground. I laid there for 15, 20 minutes and tried to get right with myself and just couldn't. And then I spent another 2.5 hours finishing loading the trailer, taking it to the dump, and came home and was getting ready to start a project, a bay window project. I'd taken out this 8-foot bay window, putting a new one in, tearing out the wall, all kinds of fun stuff. My wife's like, let's go to the wellness center. Let's get you some soft wave, TRT. Perfect. And just so you guys are aware, TRT is not testosterone replacement therapy. It is tissue regenerative therapy. Tissue regenerative therapy, soft wave. Look it up. Essentially triggers your body to produce stem cells and exosomes and repair the area of damage. Mm-hmm. So she does a pretty intense treatment on me, about 1,600 shock waves. That's like getting hit by a bus. 500 to 600 shock waves is usually what it takes to get you healing. I was like, put the hammer down. So she did. Went home and started the project and kept working on the project. And then the next day after church, came in, did some more soft wave and red light therapy. And then the other thing that I'd done in the past, haven't done a lot in the past, was get in the hyperbaric chamber. And that's what you're talking about. I've gotten the hyperbaric chamber a couple times this week. And man, what a difference. Yeah. On top of it, I have crazy dreams after being in there. Really? Absolutely crazy dreams. Yeah.
Vivid?
It's vivid, very vivid. Like, wow. Yeah, crazy dreams. So did that. Also ordered some peptides and started what's called the Wolverine stack. It's TB500 and BPC 157. For folks that don't know what those are, that is healing. It produces and triggers your body using amino acids to start its healing process. And they call it the Wolverine stack. If you've ever watched Wolverine, how he gets shot or gets cut and then instantly heals.
Yeah.
I would tell you that it doesn't work that way in humans, but it does help. It does help. That's awesome. And so I'm on day 3 of that. So 4, 5, 6 days in, and by day 3, I was able to walk. Didn't feel like I needed a cane or a wheelchair to get around. And I haven't missed a beat. I've been a little bit slower. I did turn 52 here a little bit ago, but haven't stopped. And last time I was in this space, it took me almost 8 months to heal, 9 months to heal. I had to get stem cell injections, all kinds of stuff. And so I feel pretty blessed to have my wife supporting me, to have the tools to support us and make me feel better. And so it's just a testament to, we talk about this several times on the podcast. Like, you can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
You can't be in a silo, right?
Right.
I can't heal by myself. I can't grow by myself. I can't become better by myself. I need the input of others, and I need the input of everything else, technology. I need the input of medical science. I need all these things to make me a better Brent. So
yeah, it's, and I'm listening to you hear that, and we've talked about this in the past as well, is that especially with your new, this is a new venture for you guys for your wellness centers, but using natural resources to heal instead of, ibuprofen, and maybe there's a little bit of ibuprofen in there, whatever, but I'm just saying instead of nothing at all.
No, all natural stuff.
All natural.
I wanted to take the bottle of ibuprofen and glug it down.
Yeah. Which just takes a lot. So, I think that's really cool that we have those resources and they're becoming more predominant in our culture, less invasive on our bodies to allow to heal better. I'll say this, I just had a migraine on Monday and Tuesday. and I take my migraine medicine, and I think that's kind of where I'm at. As I told you, is it's like as I said at the beginning of the show, is we're going to dissect Blair for a little bit today. But it really depletes kind of stamina, it's like motivation, and want to keep it down, and it makes you, retain water. It's just like, and I'm like taking it. I'm like, I hate taking this, but I have in my head is like splitting in two. So
Dude,
I'll
I've
have to.
told you salt.
I
Did you
had
ever
all
or
salt. I've taken salt. It just came down.
did you ever order the element drinks that I told you to order?
No, I take the Celtic salt every day.
Yeah, yeah. No
Every day.
victims, only volunteers, though, buddy. You got to order those element drinks,
I
the
just
little
want to
packets.
complain.
Yeah. Well, and we're gonna get into that because I got a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
So
let's get into this. Stop beating around the bush. I talked to you just the last couple of days, man. This is not going to be about, so let me preface this. So what we're going to talk about today is it's not about Blair. This is going to use Blair as possible example that something that you may be going through right now, or a spouse or a friend or a loved one may be going through. So I'm using me as so Brent can dissect it and help me kind of get back.
you are the crash test dummy.
I am that guy. I am the CTD man.
That's right.
So worked really hard. We're in obviously November. We have a couple days. Excuse me. We have a couple days left, obviously, and then obviously December. Still have some time we hit our goal, kind of what we wanted to be in the amount of volume that we sold for real estate. Happy about that. It kind of happened and kind of went to this mode like, I'm freaking tired, dude. I want to take a timeout. I want to go in and hit a golf ball for a while. I want to enjoy. I don't want to really get up and work out right now. Sleeping, I got 2 French bulldogs and they like to snuggle up, and, hanging out with them is so just really at the end of the day, I've just lost motivation. Migraine hits, that adds on top of my lack of motivation. Even came into the office to do stuff, and I just found myself really just staring in space and just doing nothing. Diet sucked because nothing really tastes good. So I'm giving you all these ingredients of kind of what I went through over the last couple of days. So eating chips and freaking, trail mix and all this stuff, really not any good nutrition whatsoever. And then on top of that, not getting into the gym. And for me, the gym is super important for me because I always tell people I go to the gym not to get in shape, but to stay out of jail. So I don't kill somebody with
right.
because I get so wound up. But all of those really just kind of took this effect. And even this morning, I'm like, in my mind, I am like fighting, like, dude, you gotta go. And I'm like, and my body's like, nah, dude, just chill. Just chill. You don't have to. It got to the workout. It was 20% what I typically do at best. I'm glad I did it because it kind of got me out of that rut. But so with all of that being said, knowing excuse me, knowing, okay, we hit our goal. It's kind of that elation. Yeah, we hit it. That's awesome. We talked about this is what happens after you win the championship. Okay, well, we kind of won that championship, but there's still another championship to win. Staying motivated, but also mentally, physically, and nutritional wise, really is nutrition wise, right? So let's start with mental, man. I kind of know what you're going to say, but okay, we won, feel good. Kind of want to take the foot off the gas a little bit. How should I be staying more engaged in like, okay, yeah, you got that one, but what's next?
So I've gone through this a lot, which is probably why you're asking, because, we've talked about this in the past. So I set my life up to retire by the time I was 35. I was homeless at 27 and I retired at 35. and I'd lost everything before I was 27, and I was on track to retire real early by 30. But I didn't set any goals for after the win. And so I kind of just coasted from like 35 to like 38, 39, almost even 40, quite frankly. And and that's really the issue, is it's about goal setting, it's about blueprinting. So you didn't set yourself up for what happens after the win. And so now you don't have anything to look forward to, you don't have any motivation, you don't have any progress markers or anything. You're like, okay, so I can coast until next year when it starts over on Jan 1. That's what you did. You just set yourself up for failure.
Right.
Bottom line.
Right.
And then you're looking for comfort, because now you're like, okay, so now I feel bad about myself because I'm not doing the right things. I know that I'm not doing the right thing. So now I'm looking for comfort. So then you start eating garbage. And then you start down the path, the spiral, right? And you asked to be dissected. So if this hits hole,
it's good, man. Because you're spot on so far. I mean, it's right on. Yeah.
So then you start spiraling down, and then you feel like garbage. So then you're like, now I don't want to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't even want to go for a walk. And now I don't want to get up. And then. And so really to get yourself out of that funk, well, first off, to not put yourself in that funk, you need accountability partners, right? So I noticed you didn't reach out to me this week.
No, I said I went back to, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but we went back in that silo, right? It's like, I mean, getting to where we needed to get to, there was a lot of conversation I know that people have a hard time understanding this, but typically an introvert type of mindset is like, I need my space. And so like when we got him, like, I'm shutting down, like all of our deals closed. We're good. I don't have to talk to anybody if I really don't want to, because no one, even though we have clients and stuff like that, we talk to them, but there's not anything urgency at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, well, kind of got through everything what we need to do today. I'm just going to shut it down. I don't need to talk to about, and I'll just regroup.
Well, first question I have for you is where's your power list?
Yes, haven't touched it in 2 weeks. So, I mean, the funny thing is I opened up my bag and there it is. I'm like, oh, God.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. Right. So the other thing that happens is when I start feeling like motivation is starting to escape, the first thing I do is recognize it's starting to escape. And then I set myself up. I do a gratitude exercise. I do an I am. I call somebody and say, I just want to tell you how much you've impacted my day and my week. And just thinking about you motivates me. And I really appreciate you. And then they're going to go into some things, maybe, like I've got a couple people, Kyle Vanderlinden, him and I, we've been wanting to like burn it all down. I could tell you, like, the last 30 days has been a real trial for me. You have to, there's a poem about this. You have to die to yourself to get to the next level. You have to die to oneself. That's the quote, right? So I've got to kill off the old Brent before I can get to the new Brent. You've got to kill off the old Blair before you can get to the new Blair. And right now, you're not killing off the old Blair. You're just checking out. The old Blair did all the things. This new Blair that's come up in the last week, this isn't a new Blair. This is the old Blair. This is the old Blair that crawled into the closet. You're feeling about the same, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you had to rewind the video, you're like, this is 2014, 2013 all over again. Because it's comfortable. It's what I did before. I was able to pull the rabbit out of the hat. I was able to get better. So your mind starts playing tricks on you. It's like, it's okay because I know I can win again. But what
Yeah.
happens? But what happens if you slide further into the hole than you did at 2013?
Yeah. You
You're
know,
just,
it's, you
all you're
know,
doing is sabotaging yourself.
yeah, you triggered a thought, and I just was thinking at this when you said this because it's so true. It was a lofty goal. We did pretty damn close $7 million more than we did last year in sold real estate, which is a pretty big feat, right?
Good freaking job.
Right? It's good, right? And then I'm like,
But why didn't you do 10?
right? And then there's still an opportunity to do that. And we had it. I'm like, okay, so I'll play this out for you because what you said is so true. Is like, okay, we hit it. And it exuded so much energy and so much mental capability. And this is not just working on the businesses. There's just other things of life and trials and just whatever. Everyone goes through it. So it's not a big deal. But so you're going through this and you exude so much energy to get to this point. But in the meantime, like, okay, once you kind of knew that you were going to hit it, like, okay, now I want to get to $20 million in sold real estate. And I know how much it exuded just to get to the number that we got to now.
You're afraid.
And that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, how the hell am I going to do that? I mean, the stars aligned to kind of get us to this spot, but think, okay, we did this and this is how this worked. And you've got the plane working and your relationships are at a different level now and do this stuff. But like, can we do 20? And I'm starting to question myself. And I think that's where, even though you just brought up all those stuff, which is absolutely spot on, everything that you said is spot on. I got comfortable, like, F it. I'm done, whatever. If I could do that now, I could go ahead and do it again. But I have to do stuff now, when I'm hearing you say is I've got to reinvent myself. I have to be the phoenix in the ashes, if you may, to get to that other level. Because I know that there's an ultimate level where I really want to get to and kind of do it with the pieces that I have around me. But realistically, at the end of the day, it's one or two more houses. How hard can that be? But it can be. Is the economy going to be right? Is this going to be and you start playing these as scenarios instead of just
sabotage.
Right. And so that's what I love about this podcast. And I hope that what I'm telling you and what I'm literally going through this right now. So this is not scripted BS. This is my mental state right now. It sucks. It's not fun to be in because I know I just got done to a Bible study on Tuesday telling God made us to be great and did all this stuff. And I said all the right words. And then I got done. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
So when I'm behind this mic, like putting myself and trying to think of what we're going to talk about today, and I'm like, I just need to be dissected. I need to put myself on the carpet to be an example for others, which we were actually, when we asked you guys to comment and share your experiences, your wins and losses, this is what this is really about. So hope to God this helps somebody. And even though that the picture may look good, sometimes the inside's all jacked up. And I am definitely in the need of a switch.
I'll give you an analogy of how this win. You ever started a bonfire? Big bonfire with gas, and you light the match, and it goes whoosh, right? I mean, it makes that whoosh noise, right? And my stepdad used to call it woof because that's what this. He said that's what it sounded like was woof, So that's what a win is, right? So a win is that explosive charge of like a bonfire. And then as it burns itself down, the wind will burn itself out until there's nothing but smolder. And your job as a winner, as a leader, as somebody who wants to continue to win and grow, is to feed that fire so that way that bonfire never burns out.
That's tough. It's tough. There's the harder, and I realize when you hear the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, to Ed Milet's, to Andy Frisella's, the wins only get harder every time, dude. And you're like, oh, what am I doing? And in my world, it's not my world. I mean, other people have it too, but the world that I'm surrounded in, and especially this country club lifestyle that my office sits in the heart of it really right now, you see guys that are retiring. I'm like, man, that would be good. Is it worth it? Because then I see them a year later and I'm like, they're a mess and out of shape and blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing to
And
say
they
they're not
look freaking old, dude.
old,
Like
right?
I saw somebody who retired a year ago and I didn't even recognize them.
Right. And
absolutely.
Now some of them those are special cases. There's some guys who retire that are super active and involved and you know, sitting on boards and doing some different things. So I'm just saying, I'm like, and you're like, God, I don't know if I would love to be retired, but I'm scared that, especially coming from my past, it's really easy for me to get comfortable and make poor decisions, if you may. So that's why I have to kind of keep myself active. And that's another part of my fire behind me is coming out of really started back in 2003, 2004, when I was living in Eugene, just making bad decision after bad decision that really culminated in 2013. That's the motivation. Like, I can't go back there. And you start slipping back there. I'm like, okay, I make some changes and do some stuff.
I said this because what I want you to hear and what I want you to visualize is mentally, you said, and you may not have actually heard this verbalized in your head, but you might have. Well, I survived it once. I can survive it again. It's okay to be comfortable like that. I can win again, but you're not winning because if you regress and then you get back to the point where you are now, that's not a win. That's a dead even. In fact, maybe even a step back. So for me, the hardest part for me that has been over the last 30 days is to keep that fire burning while everybody is trying to dump buckets of water on it.
Yeah.
That's the struggle. I win and I feed the fire, and then somebody dumps a bucket right in the middle of my fire. And then I got to feed it harder. I got to feed it 1.5 times more. For every bucket they put on, I got to put enough debris, if you will, or energy into that fire to counter that, not just once, but 1.5 times or 2 times to keep that fire burning. I've had some pretty knocked down moments in the last 30 days. And Kyle and I have talked about that pretty aggressively with each other. And that's very important. Accountability, people that you can talk to that you can trust, people that won't judge you, but yet judge you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And hold you accountable to your own BS. That's why you didn't call.
Well, you know, the funny thing is we sit there and like give people examples over the last 77, 78 episodes of this podcast. You know, don't be in a silo, do this and this. And here I am. And that's why I said is I'm glad that we're doing this dissection, if you may, and pulling out all the bad and getting refined. What we've been talking about and what we did for a little bit of time is now like I just went back and did the opposite of everything that I said, this is what we should do. So
what's your wife think about this? I got to ask, because she holds you pretty accountable to yourself, right? I mean, that's what her job is.
Yeah. Right now, we're both burning the candle both ends. This is her go time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I leave at 5:30 in the morning, go work out, kind of head off to the office. She leaves at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then she gets home at 6, maybe 7, depending on what type of event that she has. She's gassed because she's been running around doing shows. Different. The point of it is pretty much everyday life for everybody else, but there's not a lot of accountability. It's more of like, okay, I'm home. Let's put our pajamas on and decompress and watch a stupid movie and probably stay awake for 5 minutes. And then, one of us goes to bed sooner than the other, whatever. That doesn't matter. So there's not a lot of conversation right now. This is another trying time that we go through. That's one of the reasons why we go to Hawaii every year. It is our
So put that on your power list. Talk to my wife for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, right?
And build her up. Yeah. You need to write that down. Build up my wife is on your power list. Yeah. 21 days is a power list item.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that, because if I go back in my power list, one of the things that I had on there, which was very important, I would start the day by, hey, can I pray with you?
Yeah.
And just praying with her. And I made that a point before I left the door. Again, is, how powerful a tool a little page of a book can be, but holding yourself accountable. But when you're really holding yourself accountable, there's other eyes that are really holding you accountable as too. So
put it on your power list. Call Brent for 5 minutes.
Yeah. You should do that, dude. And now we got this podcast, and
we use this as an excuse not to talk every day.
It's a crutch, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So those are some, I think that's the big thing. And the obviously we just kind of went through the mental side to it. Physical side is to, regardless of how you're feeling, is to get out. And I really miss this, even just like a 20, 30-minute walk, maybe not having to be into the gym, of how important physical portion of motivation is super important. Again, taking these things away for a couple of days, we're talking a week, maybe a little bit less. And it is just like holding the atrophy of movement can really just take away your progression. That's the word I was looking for. So an atrophy of movement is take away progression of what you're really striving for.
So in the Live Hard program that you went through, one of the exercises is tell 3 people how much you appreciate them. Add that to your power list. Because you can't, when you're telling somebody else how great they are in your life, right, you can't have a bad day. You just can't.
Right.
It takes the wind out of that sail and puts it into their sails and puts it into your sails. When you are being grateful and thankful to others, you can't not smile.
Yeah. It's 100%.
I'll tell you what's changed for me. So this week had a really negative impact for me. Had a business deal that went a little bit sideways, and the other party wasn't able to be honorable with their side. So I could have held them accountable, held their feet to the fire, and they would have taken care of what they had to take care of. But it would have drove a little bit of a wedge in between us, our friendship, our business relationship. This is somebody that I go to church with. It might have driven a wedge in there. So instead of me asking them to be honorable to me, I asked them to take the money that they said that they would owe me and donate it. Changed the trajectory of our relationship. It changed the game. It allowed them to be honorable to what they said they were going to do. It allowed me to not harbor ill will or ill feelings towards them. And it made a community's financial world better. It made that we both participate in.
Right.
It made an opportunity for us to impact the lives of so many others by that financial donation. And then they see me as a solution opportunity instead of somebody that's just trying to say, gimme, gimme, gimme
Right.
back because you didn't do what you said you would do. Right. And so I can't go into all the details of it because little NDAs, but I just want to throw that out. Like, you got to look for opportunities where there might not be opportunities. You have to look for opportunities that are different, that can make a damn difference, not just for you, but for others. So when you start heading down this spiral path that Blair's been heading down this week, start looking for opportunities to grab hold of others and help them so that way they pull you back up.
And and that really encompasses two different, two topics that we've talked about so far. Is obviously the mental side,
Mm-hmm.
and then physical side, because you're going to physically have to do some sort of either communication,
Yep.
touching, whatever it's going to be. And there's going to be that physical side, and maybe it is a gym or whatever. And now coming into how important, and as I get older, I can really feel my body, if I'm eating right, if I'm eating clean, and I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
my vitamins, I'm getting enough rest. And to where, as I said at the beginning of this whole conversation, of like, getting in that rut. And we see this a lot, right? People get depressed and all of a sudden they're
Mm-hmm.
400 pounds because
Right.
it's comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it. During COVID, I ballooned up to 216 pounds. Was one of my motivations to do the Live Hard program. It was to start with weight, but it actually just got into a control issue, a mental control issue, that I had
Lifestyle.
with food. I love food, dude. I mean, that's what
Oh, yeah.
I never had a problem with metabolism. Like, shoot, I'll eat 2 Big Macs and 2 orders of fries and a couple of or a couple of Cokes, and we'll be good to go. Now I look at a muffin and it's like 5 pounds. I'm like, what the hell is going
Well,
on here?
because your metabolism's changed because you're double nickels.
Right? Yeah. And so I have to be very careful. And now, I mean, like certain foods of like, I think that's what really, I'm going back to, like, how did this migraine stuff? Yeah, there was a lack of sleep and getting some stuff and mental, just trying to get through this stuff. My diet waned. I really go back to when it started kicking in, which is Saturday. We went out to a dinner and it was more of a buffet. And oh my God, look at this dessert table. And
Well,
I'm
you
like,
probably ate a bunch of bread and carbs and
yeah,
stuff
dude,
like
I
that,
ate like
right?
cookies and all this stuff. And I woke up, I'm like, so
Well,
all,
your blood sugar spiked to like 600 for
yep,
6 hours.
yep. And so it's just not, you have to be very attentive to that and how much that plays into again, the physical side, but also the mental side
Mm-hmm.
too. And it's such a delicate balance, but knowing that balance of what it is. And so I learned a lot of lessons this week. I will say that
Good.
it is just, it peeled back. I'm like, okay, you don't need to be, oh, look at Blair, there he goes again. He's like, got the dessert table on the left. Like, I don't know how you do it. And it's kind of more of a joke. Like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and eat all this sugar because I don't eat all this sugar all the time. Well, eating all that sugar isn't fun anymore.
It's like a
It's just,
plane crash.
it's horrible, dude. And
Well,
so,
so
now
so
we
here's
get
the
it.
bigger question. Here's the bigger question. So Bedros Koulian says, and I've heard Jocko say it too, is good. Now what?
Yeah.
What's Blair going to do to get himself back on track? Now that we've talked about it, now that we've identified it, now we've used analogies to describe it, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me right now is just get back to that power list. That was one of my best accountability factors, and just really getting back to basics. Um, the planes in the air, but we definitely hit some turbulences. How we make some mid-air adjustments, and continue that. And I don't think that we've crashed and burned. Says I think that we're in some turbulence right now, and we just need to make some adjustments and maybe fly at a different altitude, to get out of that turbulence, and then get those engines running a little bit higher once we get through that turbulence part and then back up. So it's going to be a little bit. It's a small of a setback. I'm not saying there's not a setback to it because we've lost a little bit of momentum, but it's not that we're on the runway again or we had to take an emergency landing.
So here's the win. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, when all this crash and burn for you, it took 6, 8, 10, 12 months to realize it, make adjustments, and see the fruits of that labor. You've now done it in 4 or 5 days. That's a win.
Yeah.
Celebrate that win and then do something else. And then celebrate that win and do something else. But really the magic, like I talked early on, is in setting markers after you meet the mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there at 35, retired, going, all right, I'm just going to ride Harleys all day. Going to start drinking beer at 3:00, sitting by the campfire. I mean, sure, that's cool, but what are you going to do on day 2?
Yeah.
Day 3, day 4, right?
Yeah.
But celebrate your win, dude. You pulled yourself out. You pulled out before the crash.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. And I want to thank, obviously, our friendship and then having these type of podcasts on there, but also, the people that you've got me surrounded with. One thing that we need to have a conversation back, and I've got to write Arte a letter and see if that's back in there. There's certain things that, even though that it's been over a year back being an Arte and stuff like those, the residual effect of that has kept me to that 4 or 5 day turnaround, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing some different things and reading. But yes, our friendship on there, the power list, the reading, certain things back that. But it's just, I think the big thing for people to really hear me say is, you may have lost your way or you may have been in some turbulence right now. But if this is a wake up call for you, know this. This is not the last time I'm going to be in it. I know that. I hope I recognize it a little bit quicker. Maybe it's a day sooner. But if you need some help, definitely. And I don't want this to be a somber moment. I'm like, it's not the end of the world. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. And because I could go back what Brent said, I could go regress 12 years ago. And it's like, what the F am I going to do now? It's all gone. How do I do this? Yeah. And then trying to get back. It's like, hey, if you're struggling, let us know what's up. Or if you're like, hey, I went through that too, and this is what I did. Share with me what your win was. Share your win with Brent. Better yet, share with us through comments of what that win or loss was and how you regroup for that. That's what we've always asked you to do. It's not a big deal. I just put myself on blast in front of you all.
Good job.
Yeah, it's not fun. Because I said to you is, so much of us, especially in a male culture right now, and we talked about the alpha male, stuff like that. I'm not saying that there's a portion of me that isn't alpha, but if you kind of look around like, oh gosh, yeah, Blair, great guy. Always, it always comes out as always presentable, easy to talk to, blah, blah, blah. But underneath this, sometimes there is a war going on, and you're punching air.
It's a war every day.
Yeah. So if that's you, if you're a man or a woman, let us know. April's very well versed. My wife is very well versed in this, and if those people do, we are surrounded by great people, men or women, that can get you through that battle. But do not do it alone. Don't do what I just did. I'm using my example of, I kind of started going that silo, but again, it is thank God for this podcast. Thank God for God, most of all. And then thank God for my friendship with Brent. I mean, there's just certain things that, that's a culmination of almost 30 years of friendship, that he can say stuff that normally probably would get him punched in the face, but know that in a sense it's a reality, right? I mean, it's true. So when you're talking to Kyle and stuff like that, excuse me, when you're talking to Kyle or there's other people that you talk to, there's a trust level that comes with accountability.
Well, there's, surround yourself with people that you can truly trust. Like, I can talk money with certain people in my circle. I can talk about my wins and losses with money, and people don't take it as I'm being egotistical, right? And there are some people that I can't talk about. If I have $1 in my pocket, they're going to think I'm acting like an ego maniac. And so surround yourself with the right people for the right situations. That person that might think I'm going to be an egomaniac if I talk about that $1 might be my best emotional supporter.
Right.
Right. So you got to pick a lane. You have to have a lane for each one of these relationships. And each person's going to give you or offer you a different thing. They say that you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And what I can tell you is that's true, but each one of those 5 people that I surround myself with are a support mechanism in a different way. And you gotta understand the lane that they're serving and that you're serving them. Like, Kyle thinks I'm freaking crazy and I take a lot of risks. He's very risk averse in certain areas. In certain areas, he's very risk tolerant. You are very risk averse in certain areas and very risk tolerant in certain areas. And so you got to surround yourself with the people that are going to serve. Ultimately, your power list is, and accountability on your power list is where you need to look at your power list and say, okay, who's the friend that serves this one? And who's the friend that serves this one? I think if people did that more often, they'd get further faster and feel supported, and then have less drop-offs in their win cycle.
Yeah. And again, this is your first time here and you don't understand what Brent's talking about, the power list. If you just go to andyfrisella.com, Andy Frisella, FRISELLA.com, there's a power list on there. There's actually an episode on that power list, and I can't remember with it. If you DM us about what's the podcast of the power list, DM us and we'll forward you the link. I just have to find it. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not Andy Frisella's brain.
Exactly.
So, dude, I appreciate you, man. There's a couple of things that this conversation was good. We had a couple weeks ago, we had a gentleman on here named Steve Rigler of Hot Purple Energy. He said some things to me that kind of like when I got into the fitness center today, he said some things to me that kind of like, okay, dude, enough's enough. Let's go. Let's go.
Put your purse down. Let's do it.
Yeah. This, pull up exactly. Pull your purse down. So those are the type of things, it's obviously Brent, this podcast. And, I sit there and again, just went through 45 minutes of being dissected and why I'm going this and how my brain works is, gosh darn, it's like, how many lives have I changed and all those stuff and the greatness of, the Betsy Myers and the Ray Deans and the Ednas and the Caitlins and obviously Steve Riglers and the Ken McCumbers and the Ken Johnsons. The list goes on and on. The Joe Daniels. Those people have changed my life, have changed your life.
Yep.
For so much better than those guys will ever possibly imagine. And you can never say it enough. But thank you to all those people that I just mentioned. And obviously you, dude. I mean, you've seen the best and you have seen the worst of me, my friend. You and my wife.
I never ran away. I never ran away.
Yeah, that's why, this loyalty is a big deal with me. And, that's why Brent and I've been there. Same thing with my wife, Chrissy. One day we'll get on here and tell our story. It's a crazy ass story.
Yeah.
We ended up getting married.
Speaking of stories, we got a story from a young guy that's still rocking coming up next week.
Yes.
Gerard Morton. And I'm excited to hear what he has to say and see what's changed in him in the last year, because he kind of, like, he woke up at 21 like I woke up at 35.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited to see that. He's got 14, 15 years on me, and he's going to be doing a lot of great things going forward, and I'm excited to have him on here.
It's really cool. All right, dude. Any final words for you? I think that you give so many golden nuggets, so I don't know what you got left in your tank.
Just go make a damn difference.
Yeah.
And I say that not tongue in cheek, because it is a struggle every day. And I do it in my circle time with my kids. I do it in my IMs. I do it in my personal meditation time. I really, truly struggle every day to validate if I'm making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're struggling with that, reach out to us and we'll go through one of these either on the podcast or not. And I'm happy to do it. It's to be vulnerable and to figure out how to make a difference in this world has been the toughest struggle I've ever had, but the most rewarding path I've ever taken.
Yeah. If you're going to rewind anything, rewind that last 30 seconds. That was awesome.
Thanks.
All right,
brother.
guys, we're out of here, man. We're going to go make some adjustments, adjust some altitudes and some attitudes. Yeah. We're going to keep chasing perfection and settle on excellence. But again, we have a great guest next week. I'm excited, man. I haven't met him yet. I've heard some cool things about you, Gerard. So if you're listening, super stoked to meet you next week. But until we see each other again next week, stay safe. But most of all, God bless, guys. Thank you so much.